Joining me to kick off today's show is a man that holds an 18-2 record with 11 KOs. He's currently number 15 ranked in the WBA welterweights, and he's nicknamed the Sharpshooter. That's Greg Outlaw. Greg, I appreciate you for taking time to come on today, man.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Absolutely. Well, first things first, I want to ask you one question, man. Sharpshooter, that's your nickname you go by. What's the backstory behind that?
It started when I was in high school. One of my friends, he just was like, "You sharp at everything," and then I feel like I'm literally sharp and good at everything I do. You know what I mean? So I was the money man when I first turned pro, but that's Floyd. You're a real money man. So
Right.
I switched up, and now I'm sharpshooter.
All right, man. Well, let's get into your most recent fight. You're coming off a second round KO in which you win the WBA NABA welterweight championship. Walk us through that a little bit. Just getting that first of all, that belt, to have your first big belt like that. What did that mean to you?
It meant the world. It was special to me because I dedicated the fight to one of my uh, lost family members who was a big part of my team as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't even want to fight, but
Mm.
family supported me and everybody made sure I took the fight, and it meant a lot. It was like bittersweet. You know what I mean? Because like
Right.
she always spoke this to existence, but to do it for her and to do it on my show that I promoted, it
Mm-hmm.
was major.
Take us to that aspect a little bit more then. To be able to, like you said, you're at a position where you were almost considering not even fighting that night. What led you to ultimately say, you know what, I want to go out there and I want to perform and end up performing the way you did?
This is my supporters, and I knew that this was she would have wanted. So I made sure, like, I did something to honor her, and I'm glad I went through with it.
Absolutely, man. Well, you get a second round KO in that fight. Obviously, it was a statement win for yourself. When you look back at it, I'm sure you've rewatched it. You know what you did good, something probably maybe even learn from it. What's your overall takeaways from that fight?
I actually wanted it to go more rounds, actually, but
Okay.
um, I'm trying to keep improving, fight after fight, and um, when I learned that I'm a big ticket seller, so
Hmm.
all the crowd, all the energy, and I was able to control my emotions with everything that was going on. And promoting. I promoted my first show in
Right.
October of last year. My performance was like a C minus for me. So, like I said, I wanted to finally got that monkey off my back of looking how I'm supposed to look. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I ain't really good. I wanted to go. This guy was supposed to be kind of tougher according to others. I
Sure.
don't know who they thought I am, but you know.
That's an interesting opponent. It happens in boxing. At the end of the day, you just want to get the win. You want to go out there and make a statement. You clearly did that in that fight. But when you talk about the other aspect, is there ever a point when you step in that ring, do you just not really care about getting the extra rounds at some point? You just want to get the win done? Or how do you kind of process that when you have in the back of your mind, I want to go be pushed a little bit more?
In our sport, my job, I don't get paid for overtime, so
Right.
it's I would like to have gone more rounds, but I'm
Sure.
not mad that I didn't because for two
Makes sense.
reasons. One, I went 10 for the first time my first show, 10
Hmm.
hard rounds, so I know I can do it. That was like always a question. And two, actually I've been having hand problems lately. We've fixing them, but like my hands after that fight I just had was like in golf balls. You know what I mean? I
Really?
mean softballs. I mean swollen. You know what I mean? So that was only 2 rounds. So imagine if I had went 10 rounds or 5, 6. My hands would have probably got worse. But
Hmm.
so it's like you look at the good and the bad. I know I'm prepared to go for whatever.
Sure.
But if I punch. So if I can make you miss and if I make you pay enough times, you should not be able to withstand that.
You mentioned the hand problem issue. Has that been something that's been going on for quite some time? Is it more recently, or walk us through that a little bit?
I had surgery like 3 years ago, and
Okay.
it's been I don't know, it's just been swelling up as of lately. But I've been seeing some specialists. I didn't really take it as serious after my surgery. I did the rehab, and I thought like I'm back now. Everything is
Okay.
good. I still do my own rehab, and I'm thinking like everything was good. But I wound up getting surgery. I mean, I wound up seeing a specialist because it's been swelling up, and he told me it's no
Hmm.
damage done, but it's edema around my knuckles. So just we did like a few things, few exercises, preventive care, and different other cares, to minimize the swelling. So we're gonna see after this fight how it. I mean, well, I not this fight. My next fight, we're gonna see how my hands look, and then go from there.
Well, I also have to ask about the promotion aspect. In and of itself, preparing for a fight, getting ready to go out there is one job. Being able to manage both of those is obviously a lot. It's a whole other story for yourself.
Hmm.
Balance both those things and be able to go out there and take on the promotion aspect as well as still being the fighter in the fight as well.
It's rough. Thank God for my team though. God, like I
Mm.
said, my team is full of women. My mom, my handler. I got a brand specialist and Tanya. She's like head of operations. She does everything. My best friend does my tickets. I got Jay and Kelsey. They do everything. So, Colleen, the one I dedicated the fight for, she was a big part before she passed. But
Mm.
they take a lot of pressure off of me for real. I just train. I'm blessed. I go out. I just train and with I only see the big purchases on my card, like on my credit card, all the big, flights coming in and all that. But they tag me in if they actually need me. But for the most part, they handle it. I mean, of course, they're really getting into the boxing and the business aspect. So certain questions they just don't know, but they're getting
Sure.
better and better each time. So they don't have to involve me at all, if none, if really. So the first time was stressful. The first time you only get one first impression to make a good impression. You should know that. So we wanted to make sure it was boom. Like the first fight was gonna be booming. The first show was gonna be amazing. Even if I
Mhm.
didn't make no money, I wanted the show to. I didn't want to lose. I wanted the experience to be, top notch. So
Right.
we did that to say the least, and we just learning and growing.
When you are building a circle around yourself, how key is it to have the right people? Because obviously you could put yourself around different people that are not necessarily the right people around you. But like you said, you have so many people that you can trust that you know are going to handle the work that need to get done. How critical is it for you to be successful and have the right people around you?
That's major for anybody. I had learned the hard way with different people who's been in my circle that I shouldn't have been in there. But
Mm.
I'm thankful for every lesson and you know, every lesson that I was taught with dealing with them. But to me, you only as good as your circle, as good as your team. Like I could be elevating, but if a team if they not supporting me, they don't believe in my mission. If they not all in 110%, you won't elevate. So
Mm.
like I said, I'm blessed to have my team who's they don't care about the money. They want to see me succeed. Literally genuine love, and it's a blessing to have. Like I said, I can't explain it. It's unreal.
Well, Greg, I want to get into your story a little bit because obviously you reached this point now. You're top 15 in the WBA, you're 18 and 2, so on and so forth. But I want to know how you got to this point. So if we head all the way back, you're from Maryland. What was it like growing up out there?
I grew, yeah, like you said, I'm from Glen Harbor, Maryland. My neighborhood was, typical rough little neighborhood. But I grew up, as far as the boxing scene, I don't know if you mean like my upbringing or the boxing scene. I grew up in the boxing scene where I had the top fighters like these Eric Lubis and Levante
Right.
Davis, Lamar
Hmm.
Roaches, and all them. Audrey Tyler, rest in peace, and Alonce S. Fox, so on and so on. So I grew up in the fighting era. You know what I mean? So this is always what after a while, after I stopped playing other sports, around like I said, I took this boxing more serious, like 12, 13, 11 to 12, something like that.
Okay.
I knew this is what I wanted. I'm a sore loser. I can't lose, and I don't like losing. So boxing is, something I can control.
When you talk about Maryland, I'd say even if you expand it out a little bit to DMV area,
Okay.
there is so much talent there. And I think when you look at almost any sport, you can make a legitimate debate that that is the number one area for that sport, whether that be basketball, that be boxing, so on and so forth. It just breeds talent out there. When you talk about growing up in an environment where there's going to be the best from not only that area, but you're looking at some of the best in the whole country, the whole world. What is that like in terms of an athlete competing in that world?
That's what you want.
Right.
Iron sharpens iron, 27-7.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So you be around the best. I grew up first. When I first came in the scene, I was getting beat up a lot by Chris Fulp, Devin Mate, some top boxers in this area. Then,
Sure.
as I started growing, the table you're gonna get better and better. You know what I mean? The tables turn,
Hmm.
So you want to be around great competition, and that's how you get better. That's the only way you're gonna grow. If you like learn to grow, you got to be around that.
Is the DMV the best area for boxing right now?
I would say so. I think so. I think so.
Yeah.
We got a lot of champions right now. We got Lamont, Tank, Gary, Antoine, and don't know if I'm missing anybody, but we always had the top five. It just like our area, to me, in my opinion, is kind of
Yeah.
corrupt. Like it's hard for even our sports. Like you see the Redskins no more, but finally we had a good season. But it's like this area is like it's a lot of distractions in this area, which
Mm,
is why I don't train. When I for my fight, I kind of leave. I go to Florida now, but that's
okay.
another story. But um, it's like we have a lot of talent, raw talent. Everybody can fight, but and we were divided a lot. And
Mm,
like I said, it's areas distraction. So, but we got some of the best fighters. Our DMV, maybe California. You got New York, maybe you got Philly for sure,
yeah.
and Tech. But we up there. We ain't
Oh,
number
yeah.
one. We up there for sure.
You brought up something interesting, and Scooter Davis was on the show a little bit ago, and he talked about that aspect where there's so many guys that growing up, you see someone that they could have been special, and obviously they chose the wrong path. And it's obviously, like you said, lots of distractions out there. For yourself, you obviously you weren't overcome by those distractions. What kept you locked in? How are you able to manage and go through those situations and still become focused on what you want to accomplish?
I've always been kind of like mentally strong, mentally tough.
Okay.
Always been a leader too. I've been around all the nonsense. I didn't never want to become a product of my environment. I grew up around, violence, typical stuff in the urban area. But
Sure.
I kind of always been the smart one out of my group. I always been determined to be the one to make it out of my family or circle, which I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a praying guy. I've always had a praying mother and grandmother. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So God has always been first in my life, no matter how you always kind of stray away sometimes, but.
Sure.
I always kept God first. I still keep God first, and He leads my steps.
Talk about your faith a little bit. How big has that been, being able to mitigate and go through all the different ups and downs of your career so far, having God to rely upon? How big has that been for you?
Man, you just said it. Ups and downs. It's been everything. You know what I mean? You don't understand His plan a lot of the times, but faith is what you don't see. You need belief in what you don't see. So
Mhm.
I just stay true, stay grounded, stay prayed up, keep my faith strong, and believe in myself, and
Right.
rely on the word and rely on my skill. I do this. I can really do this. It's got to be, just believe it and get it done.
Where would you say has been the biggest moment that you've seen God show up in your life to this point?
That'll be to me minimizing. He didn't did so much in my life. Um, I can't. You can't really say one thing.
Right.
Graduating school, turning pro. I done got 4 torn meniscus in my knees.
Mm.
Um, Still made it. WBA. Been down before. Got back up. I didn't want to tight. Man, I've been through so much. You know what I mean? So it's hard. I
Right.
can't just pick one particular thing. My God is amazing. He does everything. You know what I mean? So I'm breathing. I woke up today. That's
Amen,
an
man.
amazing thing. You hear me? It's little things that we don't appreciate, but it's real though. You know what I'm saying? Some people didn't make the cut today. I made the cut today. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So it's yeah.
You said something interesting right there. I think for those that believe in God and have faith, that is one of the key things. That there's always something to praise God for, and if that's because the case, if you're breathing right now, you can praise Him for that. And I think that's such a critical thing when you go through life. Like you said, ups and downs are going to be happening. You're going to go through some good times. You're going to go through some bad times. But being able to recognize the good things, stay positive, is key. How have you stayed positive throughout the duration of your life, throughout all these ups and downs?
I mean, I'm human, so you got your days when you down and all that. But
Right.
like I said, I don't know. I think I was, God is wired everybody differently. I've always been a mentally tough person. I always
Right.
been the one that everybody came to for advice or like my family. I'm kind of one of the alpha males in my family. And I got
Sure.
uncles, but some of them are gone and out the country or whatever it may be. So I'm the one everybody kind of depends on. So I just I would just preach it. Like I train that way too, though. So like
Mm.
when like I said, I train in Florida, so like it's 80, 90 degrees. I might run with a sauna suit on just because like push myself mentally high. You feeling like you're on that last limb or something. I try to take myself through mental challenge in every aspect of life. To keep me the callous. As David Goggins would say, the callous my mind. You know what I mean?
You did say there's a whole other story of why you train in Florida. So I want to ask you that. What led you to go out there in Florida and make that be your training location?
I feel like it was the best decision for me. Kevin Cunningham, I'm sure you know who Kevin Cunningham
Mhm.
is. His style was, I think, was very complimentary to my coach who I started with. who I'm
Okay.
still current with, Coach Will, and like I said, he's been on a championship level with multiple championship fighters. He has that pedigree. So I would say, like I said, being at home, which I am right now, is distractions. Like I'm the man for everybody. I got to do this. I got to be here. I got to be here. I'm available to too many people. That's who I am.
Right.
So when I'm out there, I go to the gym. I come home, maybe run again,
Mm-hmm.
chill, maybe play the game for a little bit, recover, go back to the gym. Like I have no
Mm.
life, but I'm in the sun, I'm peaceful, and I'm focused. You know what I mean? So
Gotcha.
that was the best decision for me. Like I said, my coaches they complement each other of styles. Like punches and bunches, shot punching. So it worked out.
When you were going through your life, and you talk about the fact that you kind of got into boxing 12, 13ish years old, when did it start to click for you and you said, you know what, this isn't just going to be something I do for fun anymore. This is something I can actually pursue, go forward, and maybe be a successful pro in?
I think, well, really, my last year losing the playoffs, football, my dad said, you need to choose, you need to only box because you keep fighting your teammates, and you can't keep doing that. But also, my coach wanted to tell my dad like, I don't want to tell him this, him being me,
Mm-hmm.
because I don't want him to get big headed. But he's getting pretty good now, so he's gonna have to kind of decide. I think he should stick here. You know what I'm saying? And
Right.
my coach, shout out to Coach Will, like my dad too. So I value his opinion a lot, and rocking with him since day one.
When you make that pro jump, was the transition from amateur to pros easy for yourself, or how was that transition for yourself?
It was, I mean, kind of easy. I went to college first, so the reason why I
Mm-hmm.
turned pro a little later, I
Right.
was trying to be the first one from my family to attend college, graduate college, not just attend. So I went to college, but I've been telling everybody like freshman year, one of my friends screenshot. They got a screenshot of me saying, "Bro, I'm only here for my family. Soon as I graduate, I'm turning pro." Right? I
Mm.
graduated in May. I turned pro. My first fight was November the 5th. So
Gotcha.
I had it good though. I was with Coach Fox, who's still like we still in the group chat, like he's my guy. See him
Mm-hmm.
every day that I'm here at the gym. Alonte Fox's sons and Michael Fox, you should know them, his sons. So
Right.
I was coming under their wings really. They already been pro, and I had a good program as far as learning how to work harder. I'm with, doing what they do, hitting the bag more rounds. I had learned a lot, being under their system. So I
Mm.
kind of had to learn how to cut weight a little better. Like it was a blessing joining that team, and it was kind of an easy transition for me.
When you decide to make that choice and say, you know what, I'm going to make sure I do something for my family. I want to go graduate when I could have possibly turned pro a little bit earlier. What was about that drive inside of you that said, you know what, let's go pursue this. I want to go accomplish the education aspect before I go down my professional route and dreams.
Two things. One, I like being, like I said, I'm a leader, and I like being first. I like being the
Mm-hmm.
first to do something or the known to do something. The guy, the spotlight. But
Right.
also, just in case boxing didn't work, that if I wasn't as good as I thought I was, or something like that, or God forbid I had an injury that took me out, I have a degree to back on. You know what I mean? To
Good
back me
point.
up. So to fall on. So that was my thinking behind that. And also, when I got to school, um, how do I say this? I wasn't trying to leave that place. It was a beautiful. I was living my a free man dream, and just surrounded by a bunch of beautiful people. And I just said, I
Mm-hmm.
can't leave this place. I love it here. I love it here.
Asking about your future now. Now, obviously, you're gonna be boxing for a long time, and you already talked about the promotion aspect. But when boxing is done, you put down the gloves, you move on from it. Is there other aspirations? Like, will you go full into in the promotion business? Do you have other dreams you want to pursue, or what do you want to do post boxing?
I got a lot. Real estate is probably my number one thing I want to get involved in because you never
Okay.
stop. As long as that green grass, unfortunately, we're gonna try to build something on it. So, um, real estate, I probably keep my promotional company, and
Okay.
before all that, well, before the promotion, I want to be an actor. I think I
Mm.
can do that. Go somewhere in Hollywood, do something. I think I can be a good actor. So that's also been like an aspiration of mine.
Well, I got to follow up on that portion there. What got you involved in that? Why do you want to go be an actor?
I don't know. I just think I'm a handsome young man that can do it all. God given ability. It's
All
all
right.
it's written. It's on my chest. So I think I can
Mm-hmm.
do it. And I like movies. Well, I like action movies specifically,
Okay.
but even though I don't watch that many movies, I like a good movie, and I feel like I could be a hell of an actor. That's all I'm saying. I just think I can do it all.
Is there a certain genre of movie you'd want to go down and be a part of?
Acting for sure. I mean, action. I'm
Okay.
sorry,
I was
action.
gonna-
Like an action or maybe thriller, but I feel
Sure.
like an action because I can still work out. I can still do the like the scenes where I gotta. I know you got dummies, test dummies that kind of do the work, but I want to be like almost Jackie Chan and do a lot of my stunts, like running
Hmm.
it, because I'm in shape. Feel like I'm
Gotcha.
still alive. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, man. Well, let's get into your career now because you turned pro. You've had an incredible run to this point, 18-2. But obviously, I want to get into those two losses you've had for yourself because what's interesting is I've always said this. If you have those losses, it is what it is. I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people make it, but you have to learn from those losses. And so far, you've done that. Each time you go on a win streak following them, most recently, you're now on a 6-fight win streak. But when you have had those two dilemmas in your career, where you have the two losses, take us through how you've gone through those points and been able to come out on the better end of that.
Of course, I think we come up in the Mayweather era where we thinking you don't want to. Well, nobody wants to lose. I can say
Right.
that. Like, of course, you know what I mean. And no, it's no Floyd. Let me say, I'm not hating on Floyd. He did it right,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, I think Floyd tainted the sport a little bit because I think some of the top fighters won't fight each other because they scared to lose that O.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's getting a lot better now with boxing. I think people fighting each other, and it all has to make sense. So I'm not just saying like people ducking because I understand the
Yeah.
business part, but I think that 50-0 whatever that kind of tainted the sport a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But of course I didn't want to lose. When it happened, it's like it's only a loss if I don't learn from it, right? And I just try
Right.
to say that it's not a loss, it's a lesson. And like I told you, I hate losing, like real bad. So I
Mm-hmm.
always wanted to work harder and harder. And I always said that it happened for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I did not want that to happen. I didn't want those two losses to happen, but um, God knows how to slow you down, humble you, and or teach you lessons in different ways. So that is lessons I had to go through, and I said, God, please don't let me have no more lessons. Like I think I got it now. So that's it. You know what I'm saying?
That most recent loss came 2 years ago. As I said, you've now gone on a 6-fight win streak to this point. What
Yeah.
did you learn from that loss? What did you change about yourself, whether it be inside, outside the ring, skill wise? What did you learn from that fight?
Nothing. I mean, I just had to do my job. So my pastor named Pastor Battle, a great man in my life. He's a
Mm-hmm.
heck of a pastor, human, word preacher, and he was at that fight. And afterwards, after the fight, I basically said to him like, "Why me? Like if I can't beat that guy, I can't beat nobody." And I've been doing this forever, right? And I was
Right.
even though I was beating the brakes off. I mean, and he was like, he basically said, he asked me like a few questions of what I did right in the fight and leading up, and I said everything. Well, leading up to the fight, and
Mm-hmm.
afterwards he was like, "Well, what you do in the fight wrong?" And I told him what I think I did wrong, and he was like, "Well, basically you asked me, you were saying why me, but you just told me," and he basically was saying God won't allow us to be great if we're not doing our job, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be great if you're not doing your job. So it was a longer conversation, but he basically
Sure.
was saying like, for now on, do your job. So like before each fight, he'd text me, him and Pastor Kevin, my other pastor, he'd text me and say, "Do your job," all caps, exclamation points. That's it. That's it. That's all I got to do is do my job. Just no matter how pretty or ugly the win is, just get my hand raised at the end of the night.
Mm.
Do my job. On to the next.
So we already talked about the fact that you are coming off another good win, second round KO, another WBA, NABA welterweight champion. Obviously, the next question I have to ask then is: you are top 15 in the WBA. What's next? When can we possibly see you back in the ring?
This within the next 2 months, we're working on. I got a few calls. I told you I was working on my hands, so
Mm-hmm.
and my niche. So I'm working. I'm waiting on that. Um, and I don't know if I can say it yet, but you'll hear something within the next 2 months. I mean, within this month, really. You should want to hear me announce. But August should be a time I should be at the fight. And everything we're doing now, we being real intentional. So
Mm.
we we working now.
If I were to ask you over the duration of, let's say, the next 12, 18 months, even let's say heading into 2027, where do you see yourself? What do you see yourself accomplishing, getting done? Where do you see yourself standing? Like all the different components of boxing. Where do you see yourself heading to 2027?
World champion by then. Probably a WB and WBO. I don't even, only belt I don't want. I think is the IBF or IBO, whatever ones you gotta reweigh in the next day. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
like
yeah.
that
It's
clause.
IBF.
Yeah, but 2-time, 3-time world champion, new face of boxing.
All right.
This son, that literally, like you said, I'm 15, ranked 15 right now. Most people don't know that because I didn't announce it yet, but I will.
Mhm.
I'm gonna divide up by 15 soon. Be the
All
one.
right. I like that, man. So when you look at another decision you made, you moved up in weight classes relatively recently, obviously 140, 147. What led to that jump? Why'd you want to make that weight jump?
You can't. I mean, it's obvious. As you get older and the body changes,
Right.
I'm getting stronger. My man strength. My first loss, no excuses, but I came off a layoff and I was pressed for the fight. I'm like, make the fight at 140. He could have easily took the fight at like one in like a catch weight, but I was so pressed to get back to 140 to say I can do it, and
Mm,
I think that drained me and took a lot out of me. And it's like, why kill myself to get to 140? I don't have to do that. Like, let's get the one. I
right.
probably could make it, probably, but I don't want to have to kill myself. Like I said, to get down there. Like I'm cool at 147. I feel good, strong,
Okay.
and it's easy.
So do you feel like 147 is the weight class you're going to stick at now for the foreseeable future, or do you see yourself even moving up to 154?
Could be 154 before I retire, wherever the money is. So I'm gonna try to
Yeah,
dominate 147, and then you know, see what Terrence Crawford doing. Like if I up there and I'm when I'm the face and I'm stronger and 154 47 become a little bit of a struggle and I don't want to keep struggling air quote to get down
sure.
54. Whatever.
Well, there was big news that came out yesterday. Boots Ennis is moving up to 154 overall. That's obviously opens up a lot of stuff for you guys at the weight class. Two belts are now opened up. There's going to be a lot more fights happening now. When you heard that originally, what went through your mind?
And to be honest, I already knew, so I was waiting.
Yeah.
But it's a good. I mean, it's like you said, belts opening up.
Hmm.
Deron Ennis is I would say this out of all the belts that people got, that all of them, well, he got two of them, but all the belts, he's probably the toughest 147 that I would have had to get past. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah.
So you know, I don't sound like no duck, but go ahead, go ahead, big dog, 154, go ahead. You know what I'm saying? I would like to fight him though, if like a mega fight later on or something like that. That's cool. You know what
Sure.
I'm saying? But go to 54, bro. Go ahead.
I also want to ask about another thing because welterweight's got a lot of moving pieces right now. Whether that's guys moving up, obviously, the big names: Garcia, Devin Haney moving up. Maybe Conor Ben comes back, but you also have another fight's going to happen in July: Pac-Man versus Mario Barrios, and obviously, I know it's a very controversial situation. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, I ain't gonna say Pacquiao need the money, but why else would he be fighting? He's always been a. At first, he was a hell of a gambler, so he did lose a lot of money. But he's
Good point.
also, him. He's a generous guy. He gives a lot to his country. So,
Hmm.
in my opinion, he's only fighting because he needs some money, and he's
Hmm.
still Pac-Man, so he can come back. And I think Mario Barrios is a good fighter, but in my opinion, he's one of the ones Pacquiao could beat, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So I think Pacquiao might win. It depends. I mean, age you 46, I think. So this is a young man's game. So we'll see how that. But he got the knowledge, he got experience.
So your prediction on that fight would be Pacquiao winning that, or do you still have Barrios?
I like Pacquiao. I can't go against Pacquiao. I just like Pacquiao. I don't think
I
Barrios is nice, fundamentally, but I don't think he's super like. It's nothing special to me about him.
Yeah.
He earned his stay. He earned his keeps up there, but I don't think he's special. I mean, like no.
There's also another fight happening on Thursday, so we're 6 days out now. Jin Sasaki, Brian Norman for the belt. What's your prediction on that fight?
I don't really know the other guy, really. I know Brian
Okay.
Norman because he came to my gym that I was at to spar Mike Fox. They got
Okay.
into like a little beef.
Gotcha.
Um, but and well, they over it now. They cool, but they had like a little internet betrothed thing, and they came to spar. So um, I might go with the underdog, the Japanese guy. I mean, Brian Norman to me is also Okay, he's okay. He can fight, but nothing too special about him to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you then. You look at everybody. Obviously, you know it's probably not going to be a world title shot in your next fight, but you're just to continue to work your way up. What is your outline? Is there something that you have set for yourself that you want to go out there and fight in the next year or so?
Yeah, I want to defend twice, God willing, this year at least,
Hmm.
and that should put me in the top 7, 10, 7 to 5 range. I don't know,
Okay.
somewhere around there, and then early 2026. No later than like the first quarter, no later than the second quarter of 2026. You said them two belts is vacant. Fight
Hmm.
for the vacant belt, or if they taken, be somebody's mandatory and fight somebody for the mandatory for the belt.
So you said that there's a good chance that if everything goes according to plan, obviously, that we could see you fighting for a world championship by the end of 2026, sometime at least even in 2026.
For sure, exactly,
All
100%. We're
right.
being real intentional. We're working. Like I said, I just won a belt in April. In the April, I'm a God willing defend twice, come out successful in that, and then get ranked higher, and then I have my name buzzing a little more. I
Mm.
had people talking a little more shit about me. Then my name be out, like I said, and I'm gonna get that mandatory.
If you could pick anybody with the champions or anyone out there to fight you, it would be, let's say, your dream fight. Obviously, Boots Bill excluded. He's obviously not in there anymore. So anybody that's out there right now, even guys, if you want to include Devin Haney, Ron Garcia, whoever's moving up right now, Teofimo Lopez even, who would be the guy that you would want to fight?
Let's see who makes the most money in the sport. Um, Any of them top, like I said, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, Rolly. Rolly got the belt right now.
Yep, he does. Yep.
Yeah, Rolly. So I go fight. I told my guy, he's actually Dirt. Shout out to Dirt. I told him I was gonna fight Rolly this year. I think I told him that 2 years ago. Like, this gonna be the year I fight. I will fight Rolly. Rolly
Okay.
done made some massive jumps, leaving for a tank and blah blah blah. But I'm pretty sure I'll fight him next year for sure.
So if anyone you could pick, you'd pick Raleigh Romero then?
He got the belt, yeah, him, because
All right.
he got the highest belt. Yeah, he beat Ryan Garcia for the belt. Yeah,
Yep. All right.
he's ranked over top of both of them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly, man. All right. So, Greg, I've got one final question for you. It's the question like wrapping up each and every single interview with, and it's talking about your legacy. Obviously, we talked about it. You still got quite a few years left in the sport of boxing, but one day you'll put down the gloves. When you do put down the gloves, what do you want to be remembered for what you've accomplished both inside and outside of the ring?
I was a great man. I did it my
Mm.
way. I kept God first. I became a people's person. I was, and I am a people's person. I'm a loving person. When you see me, you see love. When you see
Mhm.
me, you see a support system. You see Outlaw Nation, and just be a role model to every young person coming up. That's it.
I love that. Well, Greg, I appreciate you taking time to come on in, man. I cannot wait to see what God's got next for you, man.
Hey, somebody said Verly. This is it. Hey, top shooting in round 7, straight up.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate you once again for coming on, man. You're always welcome on. Of
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. Sure.
course, you're always welcome on, man. God bless.
You too. God bless you, bro.